These are the top tech companies that I think you should be working for in 2022. Now, a quick disclaimer, this video is not sponsored and is not paid for by any of these companies. They did not pay me to talk about them. These are companies that I feel, based on my personal opinion and perspective, that you should be working for next year. And I've made these recommendations in no particular order, and I've made them based on what I've seen from hiring trends, from their financial performance over 2021, as well as what my recruiting colleagues and friends have been talking about as really hot companies to work for over the past year. And if you want more free weekly career advice just like this video, make sure you click subscribe down below. Before we get into the top tech companies that you should be working for in 2022, I do want to acknowledge that almost all of these are headquartered and based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. But a lot of these companies are offering fully remote or have offices in other locations where you can still work for them. So even though they are headquartered here, it does not mean you cannot work for them. And as a quick fun challenge, if this video gets to 500 likes, I personally will apply and interview for all of these companies on this list, and I will document my journey for all of you. So if you can get this video to 500 likes, I will apply for each and every single one of these companies and document my success or failure. So let's get into the video. So this first company on the list is probably no surprise to all of you, and that is Google or Alphabet. But I don't recommend this company just because of what you see in the movies and in the news about the free food and the massages and all the great perks that they have, but because of the phenomenal financial performance that they have had over the last year. Their stock has nearly doubled during COVID and a global pandemic and global epidemic. They have nearly doubled their stock price. Also, Google and Alphabet has a truly expansive and diverse product portfolio, allowing them to be pretty resilient to overall market trends and changes. They're in the software business, the ads business, the cloud business, the hardware business, the biotech business. They have their hand in almost everything, and that's what makes them so resilient, and that's why they're hiring almost 50,000 people a year. Now, you add on top of this that Google has recently broke into India and is having a huge investment and is a growing market for them for sure. They've also recently broke into South America, and they're really investing and expanding into their hardware business. Their Pixel 6 phones have been insanely successful this year with their custom silicon, and they've sold out almost 3 times the amount of inventory. And of course, their cloud business, which is headed up by CEO Thomas Kurian, has had a overall insane revenue growth rate of nearly 45% year over year. So their cloud business is almost a business within itself under Alphabet. And so there's so many opportunities from a hiring and career growth perspective that I simply cannot ignore Google or Alphabet. The next company to talk about is Tesla, and I am a huge fan of all of their technologies, and this year they had a phenomenal year of growth and sales. They've expanded and created a gigafactory in Austin, Texas, as well as in Berlin. And Elon Musk has been talking about some future technologies that I'm super excited about, like a potential $25,000 Tesla, as well as expanding further into the energy and solar business. Elon actually thinks Tesla can be bigger and more profitable and be a bigger business on the energy side than even in their automotives. In fact, the sales for Tesla automotives have been so crazy this year that they've had to increase the starting price of their Model 3 and their Model Y, and if you were to place an order today, you wouldn't even get your car until October or November of 2022. That's how crazy high the demand is for these electric vehicles. Now, there was even a point this year where Tesla became the most valuable company in the world as its stock price soared to over $1,000. So if you account for all of this crazy demand that already exists for Tesla today, there's even going to be a tax credit for EVs and electric vehicles that may get approved for 2022 by the US government. This would essentially give $10,000 off for the Tesla Model 3 and the Model Y, which of course is their top selling vehicles right now. So if you thought Tesla sales were crazy this year, they're going to be even more next year if that tax incentive program gets approved. Now, on the same note of electric vehicles, we talked about Tesla, then we also need to talk about Rivian. This was one of the most highly anticipated IPOs of this year, and they're riding the wave and current hype on the electric vehicle train. Now, what's really interesting about Rivian is that they're actually targeting a totally different demographic and a different target market than Tesla and a lot of the other EV manufacturers. Rivian is focusing on the mid-sized truck market, which according to their consumer data is the most popular truck, or I should say the most popular vehicle that is purchased currently in the United States today. So they're targeting the biggest market that currently doesn't have an existing EV on the market. Of course, everyone is a little bit skeptical of their production and mass scalability, just like Tesla faced early on in their career and their business, but look at how successful Tesla has been, and if Rivian is able to match even a portion of that growth and scale, they're definitely on the right track. And of course, the EV tax credits could potentially also help Rivian sales as well. So 2022 could be a really big year for any EV auto manufacturer. Now, this next company is probably my mom's favorite company in the entire world, and that is Netflix. Netflix has always been a popular technology company and a popular subscription service, but when you factor in COVID and everyone basically staying at home all the time, of course, naturally, their subscription sales have soared through the roof. And this year, they had the most talked about and the biggest worldwide hit and phenomenon, Squid Games, on their platform exclusively. And so what the success of Squid Games, of course, it's drawn more attention and subscriptions over to Netflix, but it's also shown that international films can be successful, widely successful globally, which of course will expand more options for all of these media service providers online. And of course, Squid Games has already been approved for a second season here with Netflix. So they're definitely going to see a further increase in subscriptions and growth the next year. Their stock price, of course, is nothing to laugh at either, but I can tell you from a recruiting perspective as well that Netflix is the highest paying technology company in any market. If you ask any recruiter to potentially hire someone from Netflix, they're all going to tell you the same thing, and that is they cannot afford to hire anyone at Netflix. Netflix pays sometimes up to double the market rate for their candidates and their employees. So while it is a very competitive interviewing process because everyone wants to work there, it can be extremely lucrative. Another tech company I think you should work for the next year is Nvidia. Now, this company has had phenomenal stock growth this year, and their stock has actually doubled in less than 6 months. That's right, doubled in less than 6 months. The hype for Nvidia has been crazy, and they are expanding. They're building multiple different offices, huge campuses here in the Santa Clara area. All of this hype around Nvidia is due to the interest in AI chips as well as the silicon shortage, which is going to be critical for producing almost all types of hardware like vehicles, phones, tablets, laptops, etc. And Nvidia is going to be at the center of all of it. Nvidia had a recent stock split, and of course their financial performance has been absolutely phenomenal, and I would encourage you to join Nvidia right now before their stock price skyrockets again. Now, this next company is one of the only companies on my list that is not headquartered here in the Bay Area, and that is Microsoft. Microsoft has been a technology staple and a stable company over the last 10 to 20 years. And with their new CEO and expansion into the cloud business with Azure, they have done extremely well financially. Microsoft has always been known as one of those blue chip, safe and stable stocks that will always maintain their value, and that is still true throughout 2021. And another great reason to think about joining Microsoft is because of the phenomenal work-life balance. I've talked to a lot of former colleagues and friends who have worked at Microsoft, and they've told me how flexible and family-oriented the company and the culture is. Microsoft has phenomenal benefits and the pay is competitive. So if that's what you're looking for in your next potential job, Microsoft is a phenomenal company. Now, last on my list is Snowflake, and they were an IPO that happened in 2020, and they were the most valuable software IPO ever. So this is another cloud-based company which has done phenomenal thanks to COVID and everybody working from home, and almost every single business now shifting over to the cloud. In fact, nearly 2 out of 5 companies on the Fortune 500 list all use Snowflake. And I can tell you from personal experience and from all of my friends who live and work here in the Bay Area, they've gotten at least one message on LinkedIn from a recruiter at Snowflake telling them that they are growing and hiring like crazy. Snowflake has been expanding and was one of the hottest IPOs. Right now, their stock price is looking to be a little bit more stable, but with all of this shift and demand for cloud services, I truly do think Snowflake has the potential to grow exponentially in 2022. All right, so there you have my list of the top tech companies to work for in 2022. And if there is a company that you think should have made this list but didn't, why don't you comment down below so other people can see what other companies they should be considering. Now, I didn't do a very deep dive into all of these companies, like their financials, the stock performance, number of employees that were hired last year, because then this video would be over an hour long. I just wanted to cover some quick hot tips about each company so you can do your research later and see if it's a company or employer that you would like to work at. Each company has different strengths, whether that's from pay, from culture, or just from the work and scope that you would be able to get. So think about where you are in your career and what's important for you, and hopefully this list can help guide you in 2022. Thank you all for watching. If you want more free career tips, check out the rest of the videos on this channel and subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next one.